Hey, and welcome to The Explainer. When you go to a hospital, you're expecting to get better, right? But what if the very place that's supposed to heal you is also hiding a silent, invisible danger? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most serious yet surprisingly preventable threats that patients face. All right, let's just jump right in with a big question. What is one of the leading preventable causes of death in hospitals? Just think about it for a second. It's probably not what you're thinking. The answer? It's blood clots. Okay, so the fancy medical term for this is venous thromboembolism. Yeah, let's just call it VTE. It usually starts out as a clot in a deep vein, maybe in your leg, that's a DVT. But here's where it gets really scary. A piece of that clot can break off, travel all the way up into your lungs, and get stuck. That's called a pulmonary embolism, or PE for short. And yeah, it can absolutely be deadly. So, here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll uncover this hidden danger. Then, we'll see how something as basic as paperwork can cause a huge disaster. After that, we'll look at the smart tools they've created to stop it, and dig into why even the best tools don't always work. Then, we'll see how fixing the whole system is what really makes a difference, and, importantly, we'll talk about the role you can play in all this. All right, first up, let's get a handle on just how big this problem is. And look, this isn't some rare one-in-a-million thing. It's a very real threat that hits thousands and thousands of patients every single year. This quote from a report by Ireland's Health Service really hits the nail on the head. It points out that the danger zone for these clots is during a hospital stay and for about 3 months after you leave. But the key part, the really hopeful part, is right there at the end. Many can be prevented. And make no mistake, the stakes here are incredibly high. VTE is one of the top causes of death for people in the hospital. If that clot reaches your lungs, that PE we talked about, it can be fatal for up to 15% of people. That's a huge number. And even if you get through it, you're 3 times more likely to have another one. These aren't just numbers on a page, These are people. Okay, so if we know this is a risk and we know it's preventable, what's going wrong? Why isn't it prevented every single time? Well, a huge part of the answer, believe it or not, comes down to something we probably never think about. Paperwork. The patient's medical record. Think of that medical chart as like the central nervous system for a patient's care. It's the only thing connecting the day nurse to the night doctor or the surgeon to the pharmacist. And if that line of communication breaks down, even for a moment, the whole system of care can just fall apart. And the ways it can fail are, honestly, kind of shockingly simple. Using vague words when you need to be specific, a missing signature on an important order, forgetting to write down that a patient mentioned something important. Every single one of these little slip-ups can open the door to a massive, life-threatening mistake. So what's the fix for all this fuzzy communication? Well, this is where it gets smart. Healthcare pros have come up with some really brilliant, science-backed tools to take the guesswork out of preventing VTE. Take this, for example. It's called the Caprini score. Instead of a doctor just trying to remember everything, they can use this checklist to figure out a surgical patient's risk, step by step. Every risk factor, like age or the type of surgery, gets a certain number of points. You just add them up and bingo, you get a clear score that tells you exactly how high the risk is. And what's cool is these tools can be customized. For example, pregnant patients have their own unique set of risks. So there's a special flow chart just for them. It walks the medical team through all the specific things to consider, making a really complex situation much, much safer. So you see what these tools do? They take what used to be a complicated judgment call and turn it into a super clear, repeatable process. It's basically assess the risk, add up the score, and give the right prevention. Simple, standard, safe. But here's the catch, because having the perfect tool is one thing, but getting busy, stressed out people in a crazy hectic hospital to use that tool perfectly every single time, well, that's a whole other ballgame. And that's the million-dollar question researchers and hospital teams started asking. If we have these amazing, life-saving tools, why aren't they being used 100% of the time? What's the disconnect? This quote from a doctor in a study really gets to the heart of it. He's talking about how, during rounds, the whole plan for preventing clots might just get changed on the fly by a senior doctor. It just goes to show you that sometimes the pecking order and the unwritten rules of a hospital can actually trump the official evidence-based protocol. And a study from the NIH laid out all these challenges out pretty clearly. On one side, you've got the barriers, things like insane workloads, no reminders, and yeah, those tricky social dynamics. But on the other side, they found the things that actually help, the facilitators. Stuff like electronic pop-up reminders, having one person whose job is to coordinate VTE prevention, and making it a mandatory hospital-wide policy. Those things really work. And all of this leads us to the real breakthrough moment. It turns out the solution wasn't just a better checklist or another training session. It was about fixing the entire system, getting everyone to work together to improve. And this is the simple but powerful engine that made it all happen. It's called the Model for Improvement. It's basically a little cycle. Plan, do, study, act. So instead of trying to change everything at once, a team would try one small thing, like maybe a new sticker for a patient's chart. They'd plan it, they'd do it for a few patients, they'd study the results, and then they'd act on what they learned. Only then would they try to make it a bigger change. And the results? They were absolutely incredible. What you're looking at here is a chart from 22 different hospitals. It shows the percentage of patients who got the right VTE prevention over a couple of years. See that metal line? See how it jumps up and then jumps up again and stays there? That's not just a lucky break. That is solid proof that they made a real, lasting improvement in how they care for patients. So what does that squiggly line on a chart actually mean for real people? It means this number, 34,000. That's how many more patients every single year, just in those hospitals, are now getting the proper care to prevent a blood clot that could have killed them. I mean, that is just a phenomenal achievement.
Okay, so we've seen how the hospitals are fixing their systems from the inside, but the story doesn't stop there. Because there's one more person in this equation who is absolutely critical, and that's you, the patient.
It turns out your awareness is a huge deal. If you or someone you love is in the hospital, you have to ask questions. Simple stuff like, hey, what are we doing to prevent blood clots? Or what should I be looking for when I get home? Honestly, being an informed and engaged patient might just be one of the most powerful safety tools in the entire hospital. And that really leaves us with one last big question to think about. We've got the smart tools. We have amazing staff. We have systems that we know work. But what if the next giant leap forward in keeping people safe is finally tapping into the most underused resource in the entire hospital, the patient themselves? Thanks for watching.